Hey there, cool teachers. We're here at ISTE 2016 with Matt Miller, author of Ditch That Textbook. We're going to get right into it. We did a show not that long ago where we talked about some of the principles that Barbara and I were really inspired by, and we actually have the man here with us right now to talk about these things. So let's start with, I think, what is the big one here. You're coming with an interesting message. Ditch the textbook. At a place surrounded by textbook people.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of products, but there's a big business around education. So talk to us about just the concept of ditching a textbook.
Yeah, well, you know, I kind of feel like textbooks were the first wireless learning device.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and at one point, it was a really important product because you could take that information and you could go wherever you want with it. But now that we have all of this amazing access to people and places and the ability to create and share and everything, it's like we've got so much better wireless resources now that we can use. We have, I mean, vast amounts of information, and where we as teachers used to be the gatekeepers to information. You know, you had to come into a classroom or you had to get a book or go to the library, and now everybody's got such access to it. And the sad part about it is that we've been teaching by the textbook, the same textbook way, just for so long, and we're still kind of stuck in that mentality. And so I'm real big, when I say ditch that textbook, it's not so much about let's throw all the textbooks out right now, but it's this textbook way that we've been doing education for so long, and we need to break out of it and take advantage of what we've got available to us, you know?
Absolutely. The textbook itself, I mean, we talk about the history of it.
Right.
It was actually a really nice, concise way of distributing information, organizing things we wanted students to think about and know, and visually very stimulating. Opening a book 50 years ago had incredible value, and it still does to many people. Lots of value.
Yeah.
But it is no longer up to date.
Right.
It does no longer. I mean, it never has offered as many points of view as might be available.
Yeah.
And it doesn't give the disenfranchised the same voice as it does the enfranchised.
Yeah.
Those are the failings of otherwise what would be a good device.
Sure.
So when you teach teachers, specifically with your book, how to approach a classroom where you're just saying, you know what, we're going to get rid of this.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you want them to know?
Okay, so one thing is, I think, quitting textbooks cold turkey or quitting them just for the sake of quitting them is probably not the best way to go. I always encourage people to kind of go step by step, and a lot of times people tell me that their administration is kind of hostile to it, or sometimes parents are hostile to it because they're so set in that old mindset and they're not willing to go on to something new. So that's where I say, you know, go little by little and get some quick wins. Get some of that evidence that you can use to show them, hey, this is working. This is the way that education can be in this age. And so I think that's one way that's really important to go. And then obviously to be mindful about what do you want to do. It's like, if you could start from, you know, take what you used to do the textbook way that you've taught, and if you can set that aside and start over and think, well, what are the conversations that I'd love my students to have? What are the skills that they really need in the real world? And start to build things from that, you know, just kind of little by little. I think those are some of the really good ways to go.
So if there's some teachers out there that just maybe not connecting with the idea of, you're ditching the textbook. So can you describe what a classroom looks like that is, in essence, textbook free?
Sure.
How students interact, what they do, and what the role of the teachers. Can you kind of describe that? Can you tell us a story about that?
Sure. Well, my classroom to some extent has been that way. I've taught high school Spanish for more than a decade, and after a while, you know, I started to realize that just marching through the textbook chapter by chapter just wasn't doing it. And so we eventually set it aside, and all of the content that I needed to deliver my students, I just did through a simple Google document, just summarized it there. You've got great open educational resources that are out there that are practically like all of the content that you would get in a textbook, but now you can pick and choose exactly what you want, and you've got rich media, and you can modify it and customize it to exactly what your students need. So the content delivery is there. The activities can be so much better than just a standard worksheet. When you start to get into interactive things like Google Apps and some of the great Web 2.0 tools that are out there, you can design these so much better learning experiences for kids than just questions at the end of the chapter.
Right.
And when you get into the the conversation and the discussions, and I mean, there's just so much that we can do now. And sometimes people tell me that now is an awful time to get into education with all of the upheaval and everything. But with all of the technology and the best practices and everything, I think this is the perfect time to get into education.
A lot of teachers are using digital tools. They even have one-to-one relationships in their classroom.
Right.
But when you're talking about ditching the textbook, you're not even talking about putting a full reliance on technology at all.
No.
You've got teachers doing very analog things. Can you talk about maybe some of those analog ideas that you're seeing teachers do that incorporate your approach?
Oh, sure, yeah. And the whole ditch that textbook philosophy, you're right, isn't just using technology all the time. In fact, I kind of feel like for the schools that I see where they've invested heavily in technology and they say, you need to be using this, you need to be using this, and they start to pigeonhole teachers into just using technology, that's taking tools out of the hands of teachers. And the only ones that are hurt by that are the students in the end, you know? And so, I mean, getting back to having good, solid conversations based on some of the resources that you've gone out and watched or interacted with, there's nothing that's going to beat that.
Yeah.
And sometimes some of the simple things that we do, we try to force technology on, are still easier to do with paper and pencil.
They are.
And there's nothing wrong with that if it accomplishes your goals. So yeah, I mean, I've seen those kinds of things. I mean, there's even still research that says that for memory, putting pencil to paper and doing it in your own handwriting can have great brain benefits over typing. So, I mean, going 100% technology for the sake of doing it because it's the cool hot thing isn't always best for kids.
No, it isn't. Well, so on the screen now, there's opportunity for people how to get a hold of you, how to find out more information. Do you like it when people reach out to you on Twitter?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Yes, of course. I love it. I live for it. Yes,
that's awesome. What I love about this age is that we've got smart people like yourself who are accessible. Who people can bounce ideas off of and look at see if there's points of interaction. And you can certainly pick up his book. Where can we find it?
Well, it's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. You can always go to my website, ditchthattextbook.com, and there's a link to get there too. So
very, very cool. So thanks so much for joining us, Matt
My
Miller.
pleasure.
See you guys later.
Thanks.